There's some people that have cars that they wipe their diapers on, and then there's guys like you that are hurdling a $5 million car down the corkscrew.
I don't want somebody to go, have you ever driven that car? And me go,
Yeah, they ask you that question, you have to say no.
Yeah. You're living with a Victoria's Secret model. Ever bang her?
Saving it for the next guy.
Yeah. Just kind of, I take a microfiber and I just kind of wipe her down. But
I love driving and BSing about classic Porsches. So how great would it be to take a killer road trip in an old 911 and visit a bunch of my best friends who love the same things? Oh, and while I'm on the trip, I thought I'd make a TV show about it. So let's drive the coolest cars on the best roads with the greatest people in America. I'm John Polnik, and you're coming with me on my Porsche Road Trip. Today on the road trip, superstar Adam Carolla will body shame me.
you built like a bottle jack.
I'll get schooled by the ladies.
If you're willing to have a woman lap you, then we're good.
That's I'm used to that. Everyone laps me. And we'll see who has a cooler house, a professor or a rock star. We love these cars. All on this episode of Porsche Road Trip with me, John Polnik.
I ain't no collector. You drive them things and I might respect ya.
Hollywood is known for vapid celebrities driving the latest exotic cars with the paparazzi in tow. This is the crowd that will drop their entire album advance for the down payment on the latest six-figure convertible thing to come out of Italy. But one of the biggest names in Tinseltown, and my buddy Adam Carolla, isn't one of those types of celebrities. He's figured out the LA game and is doing it on his terms. He's the king of the podcast world and also happens to be one of the funniest stand-up comedians on the planet. And as if that ain't enough, he's become even more famous for driving and racing his classic Paul Newman Porsche 935 on the track at Laguna Seca and Goodwood. We dropped in on him to talk cars at his studio in Hollywood, where he happens to keep the biggest collection of Paul Newman race cars in the world. Adam Carolla, thank you very much for being here, part of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, it's your network, so I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
You're welcome. You know, with the 935, I bought it at Monterey and I announced when I bought the car that I shall drive this car next year at Monterey at Rolex Historics. And I did. So I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, she's no trailer queen. These cars are meant to be driven and all that. I'm fine with the trailer queens and cars being seen and not heard or something like I wish kids were these days. But maybe it's just a point of pride. But inevitably people want to check out the car and then they go, oh, have you ever driven this car? And the answer is yes. Multiple times and in races. Anyway, I've always had this theory that one thing sort of begats the opposite. The more safe spaces, the bigger the UFC gets. Yeah. You know what I mean? We go, like you're telling us, I got an electric car, it's self-driver, it doesn't pollute, it's powered by the sun. I feel like whenever society is pushing hard one direction, there's going to be a segment that goes, F that. Yeah. I want the thing that pollutes.
Today on the road trip, we're heading to a little town where more Porsches are sold in this one place than any other place or even country on the entire planet. It's the zenith of automotive enthusiast culture, the City of Angels, Los Angeles. I don't live here, but as someone who loves to drive my old Porsche every day of the year, I should. There's only one season here and it's driving season. Most of my Porsche buddies do live here, so visiting is something that I do often. And there's one buddy who stands out above them all, both figuratively and literally. Most people in the community know my good friend Ben as the professor.
My love of cars germinated in the womb. I have some Super 8 video of my mom driving autocross 8 months pregnant with me. And it's been a car love affair ever since, really. As a kid, all I wanted in life was to drive a Porsche. I got my first Porsche in 1988. I've not been without a Porsche ever since. It was that same year that I discovered Monterey Car Week, and I've not missed that event ever since as well. Through going there each year, I've amassed a great group of car lovers, and particularly Porsche guys. There's a group in Monterey that call themselves the Three Pedal Posse, and they're the ones who really gave me the moniker, the Professor. And why, it's unclear, other than I'm an English teacher and a general know-it-all. Now we have an event called the Professor Run. We try to take day runs every 2 months through the mountains of Southern California. What I've learned over the years is that Southern California has an unending amount of beautiful mountainous back roads. I started the Professor Run to give us all an excuse to get out and drive our cars. Our cars need it, we need it, and I enjoy nothing more than driving the big long train of beautiful cars on beautiful roads. And the California mountains, there's gold to be had. I love new cars. Next to old cars, they're my favorite things in the world. But if I had my druthers, I'll take a classic Porsche any day. I always gravitate to the cars that have the ravages of time on them. If it's a car from 1967, then I want to see 40 odd years of use on that car. So my favorite cars at car shows are always not necessarily the original cars, but cars that look like they've been driven. I like to drive. In my home, I have only antiques, not a new piece of furniture. The flea market is my favorite store. Things made well age well with time, and I like things with time on them. These cars happen to age particularly well. People laugh at my cars because it's a swirly melange of patina. I'm not a fan of repaint, so when I put money into my car, it's generally on the underside, the things that we can't see and the things that we can feel. I love the look of this car with all of its patina. So many people suggest to me that I should paint it. It would be more valuable if I painted it, but it wouldn't be more valuable to me if it looked any other way than the way it looks now. You know, I could have one really nice car on a teacher's budget, or I could have 7 cars with patina, and I choose the latter. Porsches are like potato chips. You can't just have one. More is better. If my bank account could handle it, I'd own 30 old Porsches, because truly I'm more interested in cars than I am money. Money doesn't really buy happiness, but cars for me certainly do. I'm relieved to see at some car shows the younger generation having enthusiasm for these old cars, the way that I did when I was a kid. For years, I would take to the mountain back roads by myself and hope that one day I would find a community of people who would want to do this with me. And alas, I have. It justifies my own craziness to know there are 40 to 100 other people out there that agree with me on the best way to spend a weekend afternoon.
Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. You know, the one thing most common at car shows and on road trips isn't cars. It's dudes. But fortunately, the culture of building, showing, and driving cars for fun is beginning to see a shift. And now when you head out to one of the nearly daily car shows going on in this city, among the bearded hipsters, you'll see faces occasionally donning lipstick and eyeshadow. You know, and here's the thing. These women aren't just being reluctantly dragged here by their significant others. They're actual female enthusiasts driving their own cars that they picked out, and more often than not, even built or modded themselves. They're here because they want to be, and at this point, they're here to stay. One of my favorite new faces in the crowd belongs to my good friend Maria, who in just a few short years has become just about everyone's favorite.
I really wanted to get a 911, and that had been my dream since I was about 8 years old. And it pulled off the truck, and it was so exciting. I was like, and it pulled off, and it was even better than we had expected.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know how many times that happens.
Yeah.
And just having it and seeing that it's in my space every day, and it's just like, I can't believe it that I have this thing, this piece of art, this living piece of history, and I've been driving the shit out of it ever since.
I love how you've met all these people that have become some of your best friends. Would that have happened if you weren't a Porsche enthusiast?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
No, I think it is one of the weirdest phenomenons that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
The people I've met who are actually genuine and they care.
Yeah.
And it's taught me how to be a better friend, if that sounds...
Yeah.
I don't know if I can explain it well, but yeah, it's really crazy. It freaks me out a little bit that people are so nice and so generous and kind, and that I fell into this. I just feel that I'm a very fortunate person to be in this place. I have not had this kind of fun in many years.
My name is Dave Waddell, and I drive a 75 Mexico Blue Porsche 911. We're at the top of Mulholland, we're top of the Snake. This is the place in LA, if someone says you're gonna do a driving road, this is it. From here you do Cane and Doom, or you do various canyon runs around here. Very popular spot. I can see Ferraris, Porsches, R8s. So it's noisy up here, but it is worth it to come up here and drive Mulholland. People who haven't done it don't get it. At some point, the California Highway Patrol will make a pass, and then people will clear out. As long as people behave themselves, and don't get too crazy, it's a good spot up here, but yeah, it's a horrible place to do an interview. I'll tell you, I first fell in love probably with Porsches when I was a kid. A really well-to-do doctor up the street. He flew to Germany to buy his own Guards Red 930 Turbo and ship it back. And he would turn the corner in front of my house to go up the hill to his place, and I could hear that car coming from a mile away, and I'd run to the window and watch that 930 turn the corner, and he'd gun it up the hill. And I think from that point on, I was always a Porsche person. So I bought the Mexico Blue 911, pretty much set up for the track. The 75 911s originally came with a 2.7, but this is a 3.2 out of an 85 Carrera. It's got a full cage, it's got really aggressive torsion bars, so it's super stiff, it drives like a go-kart. It has no doodads, it doesn't even have a limited slip, it just moves and it's set upright. I learned later that Mexico Blue is a pretty rare color. I think they only made it in a couple of years, 74 and 75. You can special order it now. I see GT3s rolling around in Mexico Blue. We call it the Blue Goose. The guy who owned it before me, when I went to buy the car, he said, "This is the Blue Goose." And I said, "All right, so we'll call it the Blue Goose." I'm not the most knowledgeable guy. I'm not one of those guys who can tell you that dash is correct or that door panel's correct. That's not really my thing. I'm a driver. It doesn't matter as long as it's a cool car and I'm having a good time. As a kid or even as a guy, you wonder, are you a good driver or not a good driver? And your friends kind of challenge you. You got a Porsche, you know how to drive that thing? And you never really know. So I took my 83 SC at the time out to autocross with PCA down in Orange County and really liked it and realized, okay, I want to get into this. And that was probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. So I did autocross for a couple of years, and then the chief driving instructor invited me to be an instructor. all kinds of students. I've been in everything from a GT3 to other air-cooled 911s. I even had a kid in a Ford Probe, and I was not much help to him. A front-wheel drive with the torque steer. I don't think I gave that kid any decent advice at all. But the people with the 911s, I can help. When I ask students what they want to get out of the day, I get a variety of answers. Somebody I became friends with, Margie, on Facebook, her first thing out of her mouth was, I want to beat my husband. It's like, okay, let's work on that today. People, I just want to have fun. I said, well, we're going to have fun, so let's go out and have some fun.
You know, these days it's a thing to call someone a rock star when they do something cool. And my pal Kevin Hunter has been doing some pretty cool stuff with his Porsches just over the other side of the hill from our friend the professor. Kevin's one of those engineering savants who probably has invisible mathematical equations floating around his head like the guy in the movie A Beautiful Mind. Oh, and as it turns out, he is a rock star. No, really. He's the lead singer and writer to the hit 80s band Wire Train. Look him up on the YouTubes.
You know, what is an interesting conversation that's ongoing is the ethics of modification. We respect our cars, and we make the best decision that we can in that moment. There's a lot of guys who will go very far. They'll say, this is property that belongs to me. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to. You know? There's other guys who will not change one thing. I mean, no. That's the wrong.
That's the wrong rivet. Yeah, that's what, we know those guys.
It's like with my white car. So I've got a Type 4 motor in it, right? Which is a cool motor. Does it belong in there? Definitely not. It doesn't go in that car. It's from a 914. It's you know, it's a faster motor than the car was intended to have. Now, would I have taken out the 616 motor that was in the car if I had had it? The answer is yes. Would I have sold the motor separately from selling the car? No. There's the ethical split in the road. Nothing wrong with having my motor in my car. If I had had the original motor, I need to hang on to it because they have to be together. It feels like respect. And I have a feeling that everything on the cars comes to a sort of series of decision points like that.
I like the RWB cars. I actually kind of like them. I would never in a million years take a good car and do anything like that to it. Now, if I got sideswiped in my 993 by a minivan,
there you go.
I'm like going, well, I got to replace all the fenders anyway.
This is not an original car anymore.
It's no longer going to be originals, and it's all right. I don't have to take a Sawzall to a perfectly good fender.
No, I think that in the end we'll wind up with a series of decision points where if you hit this thing, then this is fine. But if this is the case, then this is fine. You know what I mean?
Chart of,
a bit of a, they say nothing is true, everything is permitted, you know?
You have a couple of kids. I know your son comes out to the racetrack with you. He's really into it. He likes to skip school and come out and hang out with Dad. Do you think he's the next generation? You gonna push this along?
No. But he likes
He's
to,
like, no.
he doesn't like to skip school and hang out with Dad. He likes to skip school. His school starts the week of Monterey. Then my wife is always like, he can't, and I'm like, he's a bad student. Anyway, also, what's better in Monterey? And who better to hobnob with than that group? I mean, they're all gonna be his boss one day or something. You know. Either way, he does dig it. He likes the social part of it.
Shrimp on a stick.
He's eating a lot of surf and turf at the Quail. We had a little situation where he gave me a lap time, felt a little slow. I went and looked on my lap app and shaved about 1.5 seconds off him. So I was like, come on, I turned a better lap than that, you know. So he may have been trying to gaslight me a little.
The most common answer we get when we ask someone, you know, why are you into these cars? Because, oh, my dad had one or my uncle had one. I had access to one when I was a kid.
You know, whether it's owning a 935 or serial killing, I think we do a little too much like, what were you exposed to? And it's like, Joan and Jim were nice parents. I don't know what happened to this kid. Like, I don't know.
So we're saying being a car enthusiast is similar to being a serial killer.
In that it's hard to attribute it to something, because it's like the guy grew up on a normal neighborhood, a normal block in Milwaukee, and he ended up eating runaways. Like, my parents don't have cars, didn't care about cars, but I remember like looking at those cars, like, oh God, you'll never own one. You drive a pickup truck like that, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I went to Pier Avenue Junior High for a while in Hermosa Beach, California. And right across the street from Pier Avenue was Der Wiener Schnitzel. There was a little alley there, and if you got caught going across that, that was detention for a month. Okay? Whoa. You couldn't go to Der Wiener Schnitzel. But what we used to do was, we would sneak across, then we'd go around, get a chili cheese dog, and you'd hide under the counter. There was a little cubby there, and you could sit there and eat your dog. Directly facing that, Vasek Polnik Porsche. Wow. So some of my happiest moments of my childhood are me stuffing chili chug in my mouth while the brand new 911s, 912s, and 914s are there. And then it went through a period where in the 80s when it was kind of mustachy bankers.
Yeah.
It was like
sweater.
I just
tied
didn't,
over.
Chad.
Yeah.
Chad had a turbo. I couldn't get near that shit. Yeah. And then for a while it just went away. And then I remembered my love of it, and the whole part of it being a moneyed, important object went away. So I went back to my love of the thing. What does it do? It's a pure, I sound like everybody else, but look, this thing is a machine for driving, and there's nothing on it that doesn't serve that.
When you spend weeks on the road by yourself driving a classic Porsche across the country, your mind can wander. That's why we call this part of the show Road Trip Ramblings.
Wow, you know a lot about cars for a girl. I've said it. And if you've been a car enthusiast like me your whole life, you've probably said it too. Like me, you probably thought you were paying the woman you said it to a compliment. But, like me, you weren't. On top of that, I think we were actually discouraging them from participating and being part of a community that we want to actually welcome them into. Us guys hang out at car shows and on drives and wonder what can be done to bring more ladies into the sport. I can't tell you how many show committees and drive planning panels I've been on where everyone's sitting around wringing their hands trying to figure out how to solve this problem. Ideas like spa days and wine tastings and even makeup demos are brought up. It's all just pandering BS. Guys, it's simple. We would never say to another guy, you know a lot about classic Porsches for a dude, so why do we do that to our girls? Fortunately, there's one big thing that's bringing more women into the sport like never before. And it's simple. Nowadays, we just treat them like everyone else, which happens to be the same way that we want to be treated, with respect. We tried to find you actually at Rennsport, and we did, and we were going to come and talk to you.
Oh, I got the trophy, right?
Do you really?
There it is. Yeah. Cool, right?
Yeah, it is cool.
I should put it somewhere better. Here, you hold it. It's got some heft.
Oh, man. Does it look like I can carry something this heavy? Man.
You're built like a bottle, Jay.
I am built like a bottle.
That's nice.
Well, this is the closest to one of these I'm getting.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's enough.
He's like, yeah, I get that a lot. This is a small-time show going on a small-time network. Sorry, Adam.